I've been selling on Amazon since 2016, so a really long time. Let's call that 10 years more or less, right? And in this video, I'm going to give you an honest review of what it's like to be an Amazon FBA seller. Now, as Amazon definitely isn't for everyone, I'm going to tell you about all of the best bits, but also about all of the most difficult bits as well. So I'm going to start off with the positives. Now, the first one has been, is Amazon FBA worth it? Now, back when I first started in 2016, I was probably in a similar position to most of you guys, right? I was skeptical about the business model. And for those of you who don't know, I was working 10 hours per day at a warehouse for minimum wage job. And I was looking for any kind of business or system that would allow me to escape that job. And I tried loads of stuff that you guys must have tried yourselves. I tried things like drop shipping, arbitrage, wholesale. I even tried things like Forex trading. But none of those things worked out for the exact same two reasons. Either they were unprofitable or unsustainable. And that is when I found selling products on my own brand. And that's what really worked for me. So I started my own brand of products called Proxnova, selling motion sensor security lights. And it was so much more profitable and sustainable than anything else that I'd ever tried that I was able to leave my job after 6 months of starting Proxnova and focus on my Amazon private label business full time. From there, I grew my business to 7 figures and sold it just a few years back. And the way I got into mentorship and coaching, by the way, is after I sold Proxnova, I started another 2 brands alongside it, which were a lot quicker, easier, and cheaper, and less work to grow than Proxnova, since I knew exactly what to do, and there was no guesswork or trial and error involved. And in doing this, a few close friends and family members asked me, could you show me how I could create my own Amazon private label business, just what you have? And so I did. And it only took about 3 or 4 times of doing this before I found that these friends and family were doing a lot better than I originally thought, right? They were making a lot more money and sooner than I thought too. So I realized I had a knack for teaching, after all of the failed education that I'd had in the past. So I combined that knack of teaching with my understanding of selling on Amazon FBA and starting offering up this mentorship to more than just the people that I knew, right? And that's what actually brought me to where I am now. So back when I started, there were no courses, mentorships, coaches, or any learning resources around it. So it took a lot of guesswork, trial and error, which is why I offer coaching now, right? Mainly to make the process cheaper, quicker, and easier for new starters. But for me, it has worked out really, really well. So when I started, as I say, I didn't realize that Amazon FBA was going to go on to become my primary income source. I didn't realize the freedom that it was actually going to buy me as well. Now, selling on Amazon allowed me to leave my 60 hours per week minimum wage warehouse job, and I went part-time for a few months first before leaving that job entirely. So I didn't realize it was going to go on to financially support me completely and financially support my family. And when my daughter was born last year, my wife didn't have to work, so it allowed me the time freedom to spend time with her too. So, I'm also looking to relocate to Dubai or Australia in the next couple of years. So for me, although I had hopes for Amazon FBA when I started, I never thought it would bring me so many benefits, but it clearly has, right? So it hasn't been plain sailing. And like I said at the start of this video, Amazon FBA is not for everyone. So I'm going to go through a few points here to give you a realistic understanding of what it is like when you are selling on Amazon FBA as a business, right? So the first thing to note is Amazon oversaturated? That's a common concern I hear, and it's completely understandable. If you search for pretty much any product on Amazon, you're going to see hundreds of almost similar or identical products appearing in the search results, right? And it doesn't matter what you search, there will be products on Amazon. So it's completely understandable that people think selling on Amazon is oversaturated. And I agree, the search results on Amazon are oversaturated. However, they're oversaturated with often very poor, very cheap Chinese rubbish, right? Let's be brutally honest. Most of these Chinese sellers, and most sellers, 99% of them are selling the exact same products. So we're looking for niches which have demand, where you can actually provide a product that looks slightly different to what else already exists. You're never going to win a price war against Chinese factories and Chinese sellers. But as a UK seller, you understand the UK market. You understand that you have a percentage of customers in the UK that will always buy based on the lowest price. But you're not worried about those kind of buys, right? Because there is a large proportion of the UK population that buys based on quality and value, or at least perceived value, right? That's why places like John Lewis, Marks and Spencer's, and Waitrose still exist, right? Sometimes their products are better, but what is real value? And sometimes their products aren't better, and that's what the perceived value of the branding is. This is our goal with Amazon, is that you want your product to have either actual value, but either if it doesn't have actual value, you want it to have perceived value so that you can command a higher price point, right? And I've seen this work so many times myself, right? I often order competitor samples directly from Amazon before I order from the factory. And it's quite interesting to see. I'll buy products at different price points, i.e. £10, £20, £30, etc. And sometimes it's the exact same product, just in different packaging and different branding, right? So Amazon and being successful at Amazon is all about perception, right? It's all about how you present your product. So you make your product better or at least look a little bit different to your competitors, right? You add additional functionalities, additional benefits, and additional design aesthetics. It needs to have a visual selling point so that the customer sees your product in the search results, it draws their eyes, and then it has a higher perceived value. So when someone sees you listed at 20 or 25 pounds, 30 pounds, they'll still buy your product over the cheaper Chinese listings at 10 or 15 pounds, right? So there really is still an opportunity to sell on Amazon. And yes, it is oversaturated with cheap rubbish products selling the exact same thing. But there's still plenty of opportunity for offering more premium, high perceived value products that just look a little bit different, right? The next point I want to talk to you about is seller support and account issues in general, right? So whether you are a new seller or you've been selling for a long time, you will have dealt with Amazon seller support, and everyone says the same thing. Unfortunately, it is terrible, right? Despite the fact that Amazon has great customer service, their seller support is absolutely shocking. It's very, very bad. It's hard to imagine how bad it is unless you've actually experienced it yourself, right? So just to be aware that if you do start selling on Amazon and you have any issues, you need to have a network of other sellers around you as your way of solving those issues, right? That's why I started the coaching and mentorship that I offer, as well as my free live Q&A sessions that I offer on social media, and the full free guide for getting started selling on Amazon UK for beginners and finding a profitable product to get you to £10,000 per month to sell on Amazon FBA. Right, so the problem with Amazon seller support is they'll often just send you a template reply, and that information is just incorrect anyway. I like to think of seller support rather than a seller support. They're more like a driver of a vehicle, and you need to give them the right keywords and directions to get the results out of them, right? So don't think of them as support. Think of them as the people who you need to guide with the right trigger words, and that will get you the results that you want, right? That means with the coaching and mentorship, you can get problems solved in a matter of hours instead of possibly weeks or even months, right? And in terms of account issues, when I started selling on Amazon, I read lots of scare stories about people having their accounts suspended and their products suspended. I personally have had very, very few issues myself. In 10 years, I've had maybe one product suspended temporarily, and that was because I didn't have a certain document, which I always have now and make sure all of my clients and students had too, right? Now, I haven't had any issues with my account being suspended, and recently over the past few years, because Amazon have locked down on the kind of brand ownership a lot more, I've had plenty of hijackers removed from my listings recently, so things are a lot better than I thought they would be. Now, when I go onto forums and I see people having issues with their account, often it's because they've made an obvious mistake, right? Often they're things to do with identification or their bank account or company information. It doesn't match up with the documentation that they provided, right? So they've done something wrong there and they don't have the right documents normally. Again, this is where coaching makes things cheaper, quicker, and easier to avoid those kind of problems. So it's very, very rare that someone who has just had their account suspended, having done absolutely nothing wrong, normally there is an issue with the account, right? And there's normally something that can be done to remedy your account. So one of my biggest fears, I think 10 years in now, I can honestly say isn't as big a concern as I thought it was going to be at the time, right? And when issues do arise, providing you take the time and don't rush into it, with an emotional response, you actually look at what's going wrong, then, you're going to be able to find an easy resolution to it. Right? You need to be able to park emotions because selling on Amazon isn't about being fair. There's going to be odd times when things aren't fair. You get a negative review you don't agree with. That's going to happen selling on Amazon, right? You're going to get negative reviews. It has to happen. It's a fact of selling on Amazon. If you are emotional, don't start selling on Amazon, right? If you can park that or learn to park that emotion, then you had a great chance of becoming a successful seller on Amazon. Our next point I want to discuss is probably the biggest change to Amazon since I started in 2016. Amazon had become pay to play, right? So what do I mean by that? Back in 2016, you could launch a product on Amazon, maybe run a little bit of PPC and get ranked and start getting organic sales very quickly. But now Amazon have realized how much money they can make from PPC. So for most products, you will be running PPC pretty much at all times to initially launch that product and then maintain your organic rank in search volumes, right? So it's no longer a case of just having enough money to buy inventory. You also need to have the budget for PPC as well. So that brings me on to my next point, and that is that Amazon FBA often requires more money than you're going to think, right? And I'm specifically talking about private label here. right? This doesn't apply to arbitrage or wholesale. If you're starting Amazon private label as a business and someone is trying to sell you a course or telling you you can start Amazon FBA with £500 or £1,000, then you really should not believe them, right? I mean, as an absolute minimum, I think you need around £2,000 or £3,000, ideally £5,000 plus will put you in a really good position, right? Unfortunately, the smaller budget that you start with on Amazon, the more likely you are to lose that money, as you won't have the money to buy inventory that you need to stay in stock to launch for a period, right? And you either won't have the money for the stock or PPC. So if you don't have enough money, I would recommend being patient, or the best solution is, if you're going to start Amazon FBA with a low budget, is don't compromise on things like photography, trademarks, and all of that sort of stuff. And one thing that you can compromise on is if you pick a niche where you need to sell maybe 50 products a month to get ranked, and that's more obtainable for someone with a low budget than, maybe going for a niche where you need to, sell maybe 150 to 200 units a month in order to get ranked, right? So if you are on a low budget, go into a lower demand niche, right? That is a really, really good way of starting. Now, the next point are fees and profit margins, right? So fees are increasing, or have increased every single year that I've been selling on Amazon so far, right? So it does continue to squeeze your profit margins, especially as Amazon introduced new fees as well. And on top of the PPC that I just mentioned, it has become a lot harder to make money on Amazon. So my recommendation now is that if you're starting Amazon FBA as a business in 2025 or beyond, don't just look at low-cost products and buy. Look at low-cost, low-selling price products as well, right? Anything below £20, you may still be able to make money in the high teens, like 17, 18, 19 pounds, but you really want to be in the 20, 25, 30 pounds price point. And you want to focus on the return on investment, but actually also how much money you can make, right? So as an example, if you want to aim for 30% profit margin, if you're selling a £10 product, that's only £3 of profit, which might be 3 or 4 clicks of PPC, and then your profit is going to be gone. So if you're selling that £30, you've got a 30% profit margin, that's around £10. That's a lot more clicks that you've got available before you hit break even. So that is why you want to go for a higher value product that is going to have a higher actual profit margin, not just a percentage profit margin, right? That gives you more flexibility with PPC and being able to make money instead of just selling a product. Next up is passive income potential, right? This is one of the big selling points that a lot of course sellers use for getting started selling on Amazon FBA, right? I'll start an Amazon FBA business and you can make passive income. Now, can you make passive income with Amazon FBA? So initially, there is a lot of upfront work, right? You need to do research to fully understand the model. You need to actually find a product. You need to source that product, and you need to test it. You need to develop it, and you need to create a listing to do the keyword research and optimize that launch as well, right? So that does take quite a bit of time and work, and it does take some effort in the beginning. But once you've launched a product, it can become very, very passive, right? So for some of my products, I may only spend 1 or 2 hours per month. That is how little time you can spend on product that is well established. So it does have passive income potential, but there is certainly upfront work to be done as well, right? So I think that's a pretty fair trade-off. So doing that work upfront, and then you get to the point where you could be making thousands of pounds per month from these products from only a few hours of time in the month. Right? So that's a pretty good setup. And it's one of the reasons why Amazon FBA is appealing to so many people. But don't think it's a case of you're just going to invest some money and then you're going to make some money, right? You're going to have to put the upfront work in before you can get to the passive income potential stage, right? Then finally, the future prospect of Amazon is passive income for you, right? Now, like I mentioned, fees are higher than they have been previously. It's become pay to play. So are the future prospects of Amazon very good? Well, I'm still doing really well selling on Amazon, and I'm assuming whenever you need something, you still buy products from Amazon, right? That is exactly the reason why selling on Amazon still remains to be successful and a sustainable business model, right? The main thing is you want to make sure you're not selling the exact same product as 99% of other sellers. You're looking for products that are in demand and finding a new, novel, unique way of delivering that product in a way that simply looks a little bit different to everything else that already exists on Amazon. Now, in the UK, 90% of online shoppers use Amazon, and 13 million people in this country have an active Amazon Prime membership, right? They are paying to be Amazon customers. They are paying to be your customers. Over 60% of products sold on Amazon aren't sold by Amazon themselves. They're sold by private sellers like me and you. And hopefully, if you decide to start an Amazon FBA business, you only be making some of that money too. right? So there still is huge potential there. And yes, it's not as easy as it used to be, but in some ways, that's really good. It creates a real barrier to entry to people that don't have much budget or people that aren't taking this business seriously and don't want to put in the effort, right? So I see Amazon FBA as still having a huge potential. I still expect to be selling on Amazon for many, many years to come at this rate. I've got 3 things to wrap up this video. So number 1, if I haven't put you off starting the Amazon FBA business, there is a link to my completely free guide down below on how to get started selling on Amazon UK for beginners and find a profitable product to start to sell on Amazon FBA in the description below. But if you want a free video guide on how to do this step by step, then I'm going to put a quick pull in this video here showing you that step-by-step guide on everything you need to do to get started selling on Amazon UK and find a profitable product to help you scale all the way to £10,000 per month to sell on Amazon FBA, right? So if you do have any questions at all or get stuck with anything or something doesn't make sense, simply reply to those notes that I email you and I'll be able to get back to you and help you with whatever you need. The exact same thing goes for my free tips as well. So click on that link and get my notes to this process and my free tips. Reply to either of those emails if you do have any questions at all, and I will be happy to clarify your understanding of anything you need. If you do have any comments or suggestions, please drop them down below. Now we're replying to all of those as well. I hope this has been really, really useful for you guys. Reply to my notes or guides if you do get stuck with anything. Thank you guys so much for watching today. Happy selling, and I'll see you